Every year, big budget action films come out from Hollywood, and we have action movies coming out all the time, most notably influenced by comic books nowadays. But what happens when you reach back a little bit further and reach back to original source material that's a little bit different, maybe a Japanese animation? So that raises the question, what the hell is Ghost in the Shell?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Over a Couple of Drinks presents another Who/What the Hell Is. I am your host, as always, Bill. And with me, we dug him out from underneath a pile of Texas rubble like he's Luke Cage. Kraft from Kraftkast. Hi, Kraft.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
We're here to ask one simple question. What the hell is Ghost in the Shell? So,
Indeed.
where do you want to start, Kraft? It's just you and me. It's a little weird because every time I do these, there's always three people, so...
Yeah, I mean, it's a little more personal, but,
it's more
you know.
personal because no one else knows what the hell we're talking about.
Fair. Well, I mean, so let's just start with the basics. So Ghost in the Shell is originally a manga from Japan.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was written by Masami Shiro, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so.
Be very mistaken. Hold on. As I'm like desperately pulling up Wikipedia.
It's what we do.
Wikipedia. Masami Shiro. Yes, sir.
Bingo.
So, in any case, it was this epic Japanese manga that ran, I believe, in serial and then was eventually collected into one volume. But they eventually made it into a not live action. We're going to talk about that in a moment. Eventually made it into a full-on theatrical feature.
Which came out in 95, I believe, right?
I believe so, 95, 96.
And it was, wait, when was the manga made?
Between 88 and 91, I believe.
So it's pretty safe to assume, without digging too far into the rabbit hole of the online space, that this was influenced by Blade Runner.
Could be, yes, possible.
Because we're getting a Neo city. I don't think we're ever told what the city's called, is it? Do we?
Yeah, so that was... to be honest, I've seen some of the TV series, and I've definitely seen the animated film. I haven't read that much of the manga, but looking into research for this, apparently the whole story takes place after like World War III and World War IV. So
it's the same as
it's in a Neo city.
It's a Neo city, wherever it is.
It's like Japan has been bombed throughout these wars and all that stuff, so it's Newport City or something like that. It's a new city that's been brought up throughout all this.
And it's... Here, let's just cut to the chase. Did you guys see The Matrix? The Matrix ripped everything off from this movie. Okay? We're good. That's the
I wouldn't
short.
say everything, but yes, the Wachowskis were heavily influenced by it.
Do you remember the bank lobby scene? Yeah, that's the ending of this movie. Except it wasn't a lobby.
It was like a museum, yeah.
And against a giant crab monster robot thing.
Mm-hmm.
Giant
spider
crab.
plank.
Yeah, whatever it was. Yeah, so that's the TLDR version. Did you see The Matrix? The Matrix ripped this off.
Essentially, yeah.
But, Kraft, why don't you go into a little bit more of the story about it?
Sure, okay. So, obviously the theatrical version, for what it is, they couldn't just take everything from the manga and throw it into a movie in 1995, so they had to kind of create a story for it. So as far as I'm aware, the 1995 feature is its own self-contained story. Mm-hmm. So it was one of those things where people, if they didn't really have any basis for reading the manga, they could just jump right into the movie and have this self-contained thing right in front of them. But it's mostly following Section 9. Section 9 is this group of government officials. They're high secrecy. They are not supposed to exist. I mean, the people know that they exist, but everything they do is all classified. And specifically, it follows the Major, who is in Section 9, kind of the star of the program, Atoko Kusanagi, if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
I was close as I'll ever get. So, yeah.
So her and her teammates, Bato, and Togusa and Ishikawa, and God, I'm gonna forget the name of their director right now. Oh, it's horrible of me. But in any case, they have Section 9, and they are the special task force dealing with anti-terrorist activities.
Yeah, that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I always mix this up because I haven't seen it in forever, and part of it's mixed with what is it? Shadow. What was the complex one?
Standalone Complex?
Standalone Complex, which deals heavily more with where did the major come from. In the
Mm-hmm.
first, in the original, there wasn't anything about that. It was just a straightforward cyber terrorist thing called the Ghost in a Shell, which was the idea that
Well, the Puppet Master.
right,
Right.
but you know what I mean. And it deals. There was a lot of themes in it too. It's been forever since I saw this. I should have watched it beforehand. You just watched it. You literally just watched it.
I literally watched it just before this for research purposes. So the title, right, The Ghost in the Shell. Well, let's dive into a little bit more backstory about the culture as well here while we're at it.
Yeah.
So in this future utopia, dystopia, not really either of those. It's society, future society.
It's like what the new Deus Ex games have been doing, sort of thing. It's not so.
Mm-hmm.
It's not one way or the other. Where like what is it called?
It's bad or good.
It's not human revolution high, and it's not mankind divided low. It's like that nice place in the middle where almost everybody is either a full on cyborg or augmented heavily or slightly augmented. Everyone's different.
Exactly, and it's kind of like a society where it's all designer. So there are some people that have very minor grafts onto their body. Like Togasa is one of the team members of Section 9. He's pretty much entirely human. He has some cybernetic implants in his brain, but that's about it.
And there's a really great scene that covers that too, like right away, isn't it? Where we're jumping all over the place, but this is something like I hope is in the movie I hope it's in a movie because it's a really nice scene where he's driving around and Major's just being like creepily robotic, like scary robotic, just cleaning guns and doing stuff, and she's talking to him about like it's a good thing that you're mostly human. We want that. And he's like, well, what do you mean? And she's like, well, if we all have the same thoughts and the same ideas and we go in with a plan and we all execute it the same way, we're predictable. We want different views, different styles, different people. And that's where you kind of fit that shoe. And I'm totally butchering the actual lines. But this really nice touching, you get this idea that, again, you get this really unsettling thing that the Major is all cyborg. And and again, we don't touch on it, but the movie looks like it is, but I don't, fuck it.
Well, so that's kind of the whole thing, right? So there are other parts in the film as well, in the 1995 film, where they touch on that with Togasa as well, where a little bit later on in the film, there's a moment where Bato is talking to him, and he says, you're the only one here that doesn't have a body that's covered under warranty. So, like, everybody else is augmented so far that, like, anything happens to their body, they can go and have it repaired or replaced, and he is the only one that's, like, flesh and bone still. But taking that into account, like, a majority of the people on the team, including the Major themselves, they basically are fully cybernetic bodies, and the only thing that is left that is flesh and blood is their brain. So their brain has been removed from their human body and put into a casing, and then that casing is put into a cybernetic body. So that's where the title of the film comes from, Ghost in the Shell. Ghost referring to the human soul, or the human, what makes us human. And then the shell is the cyborg body.
Bingo. That's
so.
And we can, in the words of CinemaSins, roll credits. I don't know if we want to go more into the plot because, again, as this kind of, it's an amazing detective story, or it just it pulling on one string and another, and it just kind of lays out rather beautifully in a way. Like when this came out in '95. A lot of people are like, oh, it's really good, but I don't know if I can follow it. And, like, that's what it was, because it's dealing with a lot of complex issues in, what was it, 2 hours, hour and a half, hour 45 minutes? How long is it?
82 minutes.
Yeah, so
hour and a half.
Real fast,
very
rapid
quick.
Fire. But it tells this great plot and detective story that, like, any good detective, like, this is neo-noir to a T. This is, like, Blade Runner's Japanese sister, okay? That's what this is.
Pretty much, yeah.
And that's, if you go and looking like that and looking with like, what is this? What can it be? And keep your mind open, you'll enjoy it as much as you can.
I do have to say, like, the first time I saw it was probably in my early teens, like maybe when I was like 12 or 13 years old. Um, One of my buddies had gotten it for me on VHS as a late birthday gift, which was really weird because like I had introduced him to anime and he was like, "Hey, have you ever seen Ghost in the Shell?" Like a week before, and I'm like, "Well, no, what is that?" And so he's like, "Oh, don't worry about it."
Don't worry about
And
it.
then, like on my birthday, he's like, "Here you go." And so it was this kind
Yeah.
of like weird gift. And I was like, "Oh, okay." But like we watched it, and me being like 12 or 13 years old, like all the high level stuff just kind of went pew, like over
Yeah.
my head. But rewatching it tonight before we did this, like being able to actually sit down and like focus on it and go like, oh shit, like this is what all this is. Okay, cool.
And
Just the amount of like layers to it and the political intrigue and everything like that, it's fantastic.
it's fantastic, and it's for me. When I saw it, it was in my own personal anime invasion that hit. This was like, oh, I've seen Sailor Moon, I saw some Dragon Ball, but like I hadn't been introduced to a lot of it. So it was like, oh, these are still kind of like kid shows, so to speak. I know Dragon Ball really wasn't. Well, Dragon Ball Z
Mm-hmm.
really wasn't. Dragon Ball was kind of, but like my experience went through the roof when I saw three cornerstones that I
Mm-hmm.
call my anime base. And I've talked about it a bunch on the podcast to how I don't stray too far away from that base because you remember the dark times where we didn't have the internet to tell us what was a good anime, and you
Mm-hmm.
bought one home and it was terrible.
Oh, for sure.
It was swimming in a sea of shit, and you couldn't find anything good. So you always stay home from home base.
And you'd go to like a mall and you'd go to Suncoast, which is the store we had in
Or
our mall back in home,
we went to
and
Media Play.
anime media play, yeah.
Yeah,
But you'd go in there and they'd have an anime section,
and
and
you're
you'd
like,
look at stuff,
"What
and you
is
would be able
this?"
to look at the back of the box, and you're like, okay, well, this kind of sounds okay.
And you take
And
it home
then
and it's
because it was a
garbage.
specialty thing, I remember in Suncoast, the store I'm talking about, tapes of like 4 episodes, right? Like Gundam or
Gundam.
whatever,
Oh
or
yeah,
Evangelion. A tape with only 3 or 4 episodes would be about 25 or $30.
it was ridiculous because they had
So
because it wasn't widespread, and like let us pull out our hipster cards and go, you youngsters with your Crunchyroll don't know how good you got it.
pretty much.
But like my three cornerstones were Akira,
Hmm.
Ninja Scroll,
Hmm.
and Ghost in the Shell. Like
Yeah.
those were the three that if anything was close to it, you were okay to jump there, but you didn't go anywhere else. So because of mostly Ghost in the Shell, not so much Ninja Scroll, but a little bit, I went to Cowboy Bebop, and
Okay.
that amazing. And because of Ninja Scroll, I went to Berserk, which was amazing. And everything kind of like lived up to Akira, which was the first big one. Where you went, what is this? This is bizarro, and this just kind of tacks onto it for like my three pillars of what good anime is. You look at
Sure.
those three movies and go, that's what good anime is. Everything has to live up to that. You have to put up with it.
Well, and it's one of those things that in Japan it was just accepted. Like this is
Yeah.
exactly what their culture is what they have, and there's Japanese animation for all ages over there, kids shows and adult shows, and adult movies and kids movies and all that sort of thing. But like over here,
We don't really have
Akira,
those.
Akira was the first jump for us on that in a major way. There was other stuff that was coming over like in the 60s and 70s, like Gigantor and all that stuff.
Yeah, and we
Um,
had and we did get Dragon Ball. We got Dragon Ball
yeah,
Z. We got Sailor Moon. We got the Gundams.
but like Akira literally came out here in I want to say 88 or
88.
89, maybe 9.
I think 89, maybe
But
90.
Siskel and Ebert at the time gave it 2 thumbs up. Like that was the thing is like they are the premier movie critics in America at that time,
Mm-hmm.
and they have this animated film from Japan. It's 2 hours long, and they gave it 2 thumbs up.
Well,
and it's like that was the first real milestone for Japanese animation in America. And as a point, I don't know about Ghost in the Shell, like where it ranked for them. I'm not
Ghost
sure
in
if
the
they're.
no, I just read it. Ebert gave it 3 out of 4 stars, saying it was beautifully done, but the animation was hard to follow at times. And I think that was honestly played out as how fast it moved, because it moves really fast.
Mm-hmm.
Like this movie could have easily put another 30 minutes in and feel perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
So that fills in your blank right there.
Yeah, and I think probably They could have put the extra 30 minutes in, but it's
It's fine.
such a good tight package for 82 minutes.
Yeah, and
It gets everything told. It doesn't waste its time. Like that's kind of the whole thing, right? Is that Section 9, like this movie, they don't waste their time. They go
no,
after their man.
they go.
Like they know what they need to do and they're going to go for it.
So I'm genuinely curious, and let's switch over to the live action movie.
Sure.
You got to see a little bit more, but I am interested to see what the runtime is for
Mhm.
the live action. I might actually see if that's on IMDb right now.
Yeah, go ahead.
If they're going to keep it that real tight knit thing, or
Well,
maybe they might slow it down a bit. I don't know.
and the thing that I'm really concerned about, because Ghost in the Shell has been a franchise since the late 80s. So that's getting close to 30 years now. Like we're in
Yeah.
2017 now, and I believe the manga first debuted in 1988. So 1 year off. We're 29 years into Ghost in the Shell, right?
Okay, it runs 2 hours.
So
just
2 hours,
you know.
okay.
That's not bad.
No, it's not too long, not too short.
And if they're adding some standalone complex into it, it makes sense.
But that's what I was going to get to, right? Is we have this whole breadth of what Ghost in the Shell is. We have the manga, we have the 1995 film, we have the sequel to that came out in 2004, 2005,
2005.
which was about Bateau mostly.
Yeah.
And then we have like the TV series, the standalone complex, Second Gig as well. There's all this content that's out there for this, and I'm wondering what points in the plot they're going to hit on, or if they're just going to make a live action remake of the actual animated film.
I honestly hope they stick close to the original film. Again, because I didn't go so crazy into everything, because I was like, because it was at the point where it was like, I'm gonna say it in a way like it was like the Star Wars prequels. Not saying the new stuff is bad. It's just that I was so content for so long with just the movie that going into other places and recently being really badly burned by the prequels, going on no, I'm good. You know, I was the same way with the Cowboy Bebop movie, going no, I'm good. Don't need any more. And then you're like, no, just slowly accept it, because again, going back to the 3 pillars, everything else is shit. You know, even if it has the name on it. You know, it's just like that's just the mindset I had growing up. But I do have to say this about the movie before we talk about what you got to see. I'm excited to see how much of it looks like a quite literal live action pull, in the same style that Sin City was. Here's an image, we shot that image. Here's what it looks on the anime. Here's it literally just in live action. We're okay. And that's good, because the other live action animes we got haven't been good.
What examples do you have? Because it sounds like you got something percolating there.
Dragon Ball Evolution. I will not. I saw it with you. I liked Speed Racer a lot. I thought that was everything it needed to be compared to what the TV show was. Same goofy, everything, hyper stylized, really fun to see. I won't mock that. I think that was actually one of the good ones. But like
seeing that in IMAX was the right choice too.
Yeah, it's like,
remember that?
Yeah.
Oh,
that was great. But Dragon Ball, oof, like that's the kind of like bastardization that a lot of fans are worried for in certain animes coming to movies, and I think that's fair. But like from what we've seen, I went, no, this looks like Ghost in the Shell. This is good. So, you saw a sizzle reel. You thought you'd get a full, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. So there was, a website I go to occasionally that have listings for advanced screenings for films. Ghost in the Shell popped up for a Tuesday night, and I was like, I gotta. And the passes were like right there, and I was like, I gotta grab them. So I grabbed my passes, and it was 2 passes. I actually invited some friends along; they couldn't come along. But I was like, oh my god, this is so amazing. This is like a month out. And like, that's not unusual.
No, it's not.
Like, I got to see Need for Speed a month before it actually hit theaters, the Aaron Paul film.
Yeah, I saw.
And it was actually really, really good as well. And, it's not unusual to have that month lead out.
No, I saw Skyfall maybe 2.5 weeks before release. So, I mean, it's not a full month, but like, that's within the realm of.
Yeah.
They want to see what people are generating, So when you showed it to me, I was like, whoa.
Yeah. And the whole thing with that, too, is, like, if the film is completely finished at that point, they're relying on that for word of mouth.
Yeah.
They're relying on the audiences that go see that to go, like, oh, man, I saw this. It's going to be out in, like, 4 weeks, you need to go see it. Unfortunately, when I arrived at the theater, I was informed that it was only going to be what's called a sizzle reel. So it's only going to be about 15 minutes of footage from the film.
That's that still gives you a good chunk, you know.
Yeah, I mean that's an eighth of the film
Yeah.
if you're doing it solely based on time. So that being said, like there was a line, we had to wait, we had to go in the theater. We actually got posters, which I'll actually reach over here because I still have it on my desk, right there.
That is
That's,
so cool.
and it's got, I'll get it in close there. So it's got, oh, if I can figure out which way to go, Bateau and the majors right there, and yeah, and then there's this creepy like geisha woman. But so they gave us a free poster and they got us in the theater and they said, okay. To intro this, we're gonna have Harry Knowles from Ain't It Cool News, which I'll name drop him there. So he actually came up and he's like, "No, if you guys were here for Avengers, when we did this for Avengers, this is how it's gonna be. We're gonna play the sizzle reel for first. We'll let you kind of sit for a couple minutes, and we're gonna play it again and try and catch everything that we didn't see the first time."
Okay.
So they played it, and should I go into detail about what I saw, or should I leave it?
I think it'd be okay if you don't go directly into detail, but like kind of like your gut reaction. I mean, you put it on Facebook, which actually got me super excited for this movie. When I think one of the ones you said, like, yep, that's definitely the major. The only thing that looks iffy right now is the cityscape, but this is Ghost in the Shell. And I'm like, coming from Kraft, oh my god, that's gonna be awesome. I can't wait to see this movie.
So,
all right, sorry about that little hiccup in the recording. So as you're saying, Kraft.
Yeah, so this is a reel that we were able to see. So don't really want to give too much away about what I saw specifically, but if you're familiar with the 1995, animated feature, the shelling sequence that we see where the major is basically created, they actually showed that off to us.
Oh.
And seeing that done in live action, and actually follow up with this on YouTube on the tested YouTube account with Adam Savage.
Yeah.
He's actually been putting up some videos where they've been going behind the scenes with Weta Workshop, because apparently Weta worked on this.
Okay.
And they actually, instead of doing that with CGI, they actually did it with practical effects.
Really?
So the shelling sequence, like the cybernetic body they show during that, is actually a prop.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
Yeah, so that whole sequence there, like hearing the song that's famous for Ghost in the Shell, it's got the vocal chorus, insert it here.
Yeah.
Everybody knows it. That was playing on it like it was in the 1995 one. It was just gorgeous.
Now,
so the other thing that they showed us another clip as well, but it was basically the first sequence in the film where she's on the top of the rooftop.
Okay.
And she breaks up the meeting that's happening. Now, it wasn't exactly like the 1995 film, and again, I won't go into any further details than that.
Yeah, because the geishas weren't in it, right?
Yeah,
okay.
But seeing Scarlett Johansson in action as the major and seeing her do what was originally conceived of, kind of, in the original film where she's dropping down off the building, it was just great.
Which is great? Okay.
Yeah, like I don't want to go into any more detail than that, but like doing the whole thermal optic camouflage and everything like that, it just gorgeous. It just looks awesome. It's not really many words to describe it. As you had mentioned, I actually talked about the city looking a little fake, right? Yeah. And that was mostly because, like, how do you film a city like this? You really can't, because there's not a city like this in the world.
Yeah.
So it's all computer generated. But the second time, like as I said, they did 2 screenings of the sizzle reel. After I'd actually gotten to sit down and watch it the second time through, it didn't look as fake at that point. I think it was just one of those things like going into it, not being adjusted to the 3D glasses they gave us and all that stuff. I think it looked a little bit more off the first time.
And just generally
once
being
I was comfortable,
cynical bastards that we are.
Yeah, maybe. But once I was a bit more comfortable with my 3D glasses and like the theater and all that stuff, it actually looked a lot better.
Okay.
So
I mean, overall, we have high hopes for this. We do. Do we want to talk about the whitewashing problem?
I mean, we can.
Yeah.
So it should be noted, so with this film coming out, obviously the main character in the 1995 and the manga, it's Motoko Kusanagi. Yeah. Very Asian name, if not Japanese name. But it should also be noted that for this film, the major creators of Ghost in the Shell have been signed on to the project. They've given their blessings for it. So it's a little kind of weird. It's like this thing where you have this character that had a Japanese name, and she's being played by Scarlett Johansson, which is not a Japanese or Asian actress.
It's one of those weird things that we're dealing with right now in culture by culture, not race by race, in the sense that I remember when the whole thing blew up with Scarlett Johansson playing the Major, and they came out with one image, and I think this is when like the major step of voice between Asian American actors aren't being represented in films as much. Like that's when I started noticing it, and now it's popping up everywhere. And I'm not saying I'm annoyed by it. It is a real issue. It's like we talked about this in Iron Fist too, where it's like this is a real issue. We're not trying to discredit it, but with Iron Fist, Danny Rand was always white, so they cast a white guy. It's not like they were being socially, racially insensitive. They were just following the source material. Don't really care. With this one, it was interesting because I was like, oh, they're doing that. Okay, I guess that's okay, because I don't know. When I watched the '95 anime, the Major never looked Japanese, even though she had a Japanese name. But I honestly think that it was because they were playing up the doll motif a little bit more, and just very unsettling. And
Well,
she's supposed to be. She's supposed to look off.
well, not even that, but she's a cyborg.
Yeah. And
So she doesn't necessarily have to have any nationality because she's a construct.
yeah, and that's a couple of white dudes washing away whitewashing, But it's like it was one of those weird things. Because I remember here, everyone was upset. Well, mostly people were upset that they were doing this, and then they went like this reporter walked around the streets of Japan asking what they thought of it. Like, this is great, this is fantastic, And I'm like, this is where here on the West Side, we're more upset about it than actual Japan. And it's kind of weird too, but like the creator saw the movie, said this is great, this is fantastic, this is Ghost in the Shell. He said that, and I'm like, that's high praise. But then again, he could just be part of the hype machine. It could be shit, and 2 years later he'll be like,
money talks, right?
Yeah,
money talks.
2 years later he'll be like, no, that movie was shit. But like, it's one of those unnerving thing where I can totally see, yes, they should have hired an Asian American actor. But,
yeah, I mean, there's plenty of Asian American actors that could have filled that role. That is very correct.
But then you realize that the money machine is working on it, and then it's hard enough to sell Asian American actors to Americans. Apparently, they want Japan to have that. Oh, Scarlett Johansson's in this movie. We finally made it. We're being recognized with a great movie, kind of thing. Which is totally dumb because the original is fantastic and is a great movie and should not have to. It should not be fed table scraps. Okay, so it's bizarre.
Well, and it's also, so going into the fiction of the universe again, this is after World War III and World War IV.
Yeah.
And, no international borders are the same. Like, they even talk about the United States being disincorporated. So there's, like, different nations where the United States used to be, everything like that. Yeah. And going into the characters and what Section 9 is, Section 9 seems more international than just limited to Asia, just to Japan. Like Toga said, it's very clear in the 1995 animated feature. I'm not sure about the manga, but in the 1995 animated feature, very clear that he is not Japanese. He's not Asian at all.
Yeah.
He seems very much like either European or American.
Yeah.
So beyond that, like, you look at the movie that's coming out, we have Beat Takeshi, who is a famed Japanese actor. He's playing their commander, and in the film, I can actually tell you this. He's actually speaking Japanese in the entire thing. They have subtitles for him. So it's not like they're dubbing him over in English or anything like that, at least as far as I saw. Now, again, I didn't see a finished product. I'm hoping they keep it this way.
I hope they keep it that way, because it's to the point now where if people are going to complain about subtitles, they're in the minority now. We have amazing movies come out that you literally have to read the whole thing, and most people won't complain about it because it's not the full 2 hours. I can see like people not wanting to go see reading a movie, paying $11 to go see a movie that you have to read for 2 hours. I mean, I don't have a problem doing it at my house because I'm chill. Troll Hunter, 10 out of 10. But like, no, that's great. That's awesome. I love that. I'm so excited to see this movie. I'm so excited. I'm more excited to see this than fucking Alien Covenant. Okay.
That says something coming from you.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing.
Yeah, that's a huge thing, but also fuck Prometheus. Fuck Prometheus hard.
Michael Fassbender.
Michael Fassbender was the only good part, and he looks amazing in Covenant. It's just everything else looks not good. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, we're coming down to what, less than 2 weeks
Less
now?
than 2 weeks.
It's coming out on the 31st, I think, or 29th.
As soon as we see it, you guys will get a review from us. It might be late at that point, but I don't care. This is my site. This is my page. I don't give a shit. So, with that, we will bid you adieu. Thank you so much for stopping by, Kraft.
Always glad to stop by.
Yeah, we'll have you on hopefully later. Upcoming from us, we have a review for a series of unfortunate events coming up soon. A Doctor Who special, and Ghost in the Shell review, and oh god, I gotta do an April Fool's video.
Coming up.
It's gonna be fun. All right, say bye, Kraft.
Have a nice night, everybody.
Thanks.
Whatever.
Thanks, guys. I hope this was informative.